Hi everyone, this is Lee Kanter here with a special edition of Good News on Good View with Lance Lesher. Welcome, Lance.
Thanks, Lee.
Retired naval captain, and
Yes, sir.
you're here. You're running for this Saturday.
Yes, sir.
What the date of Saturday is March,
21st,
and it's 10
o'clock to 3 o'clock, anytime during that time frame at Princess Anne High School. You just have to be a registered voter in Virginia Beach. You don't have to be a Republican. You don't have to register ahead of time. You don't have to stay the whole time period, 10 to 3, Princess Anne High School.
And he's running for Republican Party chairman in the city of Virginia Beach. Like Tip O'Neill said, everything's politics, and all politics is local, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
You were sharing with me that you're opposed. You're opposed in this election, but you're running because you see that there's disunity in the party. So, what are sort of the local issues in our Republican Party, and what do you see the impact you want to make?
So it's important to have a unified front and to espouse conservative values. And one of the things that I really want to try and do is have a broad tent, have people come in and support Republican candidates, conservative candidates, based upon school choice, parental rights, Second Amendment rights, all the things that sometimes are under attack. Right now, the Democrats have the governor, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general, and they have both houses of the legislature. There's a lot of laws that are coming through right now that a lot of people aren't really aware of. But I do think that people are starting to wake up and become more aware and become more involved. And what I'd like to see the Republican Party of Virginia Beach is an education outright on specific issues and specific candidates, offering up candidates that we recruit, we train, we encourage them and support them so that they can have the opportunity to really tell their story and be convincing to the electorate why we should give them a chance, why should we vote for those candidates. And right now we're just starting that for the November election. There's going to be school board. You mentioned local, everything's local. School board candidates, city council candidates. We're going to have congressional candidates running. And
for the U.S. Congress.
For the U.S.
Which
Congress.
is important. We got to get back to that.
Yes, we need to talk about the gerrymandering.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But so my vision is really to bring people into the party, help people understand the issues, understand the outlet to that. Jen Kiggins, who's running for office, she's right now my congresswoman. She likes to say, hey, it's not enough to sit on the couch and yell and know what to yell. You got to get off the couch. That's why she ran. She ran because she found herself on the couch and she was agitated about some issues, and she turned that into actual doing something about it, and she ran for office. She served as a senator, and now she's serving as a state senator, and now she's serving as her congresswoman.
Yeah, and you were saying that there's usually only about 1,000 votes in this election.
So for the chairman, it's not a really big race. A lot of folks don't know about it. There's about 250 people in the Republican Party of Virginia Beach, actual members, but it's not open to just them. It's open to the larger public.
Right.
I'm hoping to have a couple thousand people turn out. I'm hoping a lot of folks who are conservative, maybe don't want to sign up to be in a specific party, but want to be involved and engage in making their communities safer, more prosperous, school choice, things of that nature.
Right. Well, so thank you for stepping up, getting off
Thanks,
the
sir.
couch.
Thank you.
and but you also have quite a career of service. As you were in the Navy for how long?
I was in the Navy for 32 years.
Wow. Thank you for your service. And you were a captain.
I was enlisted for 3 years. Then I went to the Naval Academy, and I was commissioned. I was fortunate to command a warship, and I commanded a group of warships.
Wow. And you were sharing with us before that it was in the you were not only in the Strait of Hormuz and the and the Persian Gulf, which we'll get to, because this is good news on Good View. Can't avoid the big news, right?
Yes, sir.
But before we get out of the local and also impacting the national and therefore the international politics, let's talk about this gerrymandering election and inform our viewers, because this is a Virginia election. It's not just Virginia Beach now. And tell us what's at stake and how and when people need to vote by.
Okay, well, thank you. So the actual election for gerrymandering will be the 21st of April throughout the state at all your polling places. There's 108 polling places actually in Virginia Beach. You can vote early at 500 Studio Drive, the new registrar's office, Monday through Friday from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock. You can come and vote early. So the significant thing about gerrymandering in 2020, the Virginia citizens turned out and they voted 66% against having politicians draw the maps. Well, the way it's supposed to work is you have a census, and based upon that census data, you reapportion congressional seats throughout the Commonwealth, but also throughout the United States. 66% were against gerrymandering. Abigail Spanberger also at some point in time said she was against it as well too. She's now elected, and as I mentioned before, it's a clean sweep. The governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general in both houses, and right now there's a big push. And some of the most disturbing thing about the discussion is if you look at the actual language, it talks about restoring fairness.
But now, just to be clear, this is for United States House of Representatives.
Correct, throughout Virginia.
Right. This isn't our state politicians or our state house. This is the U.S. Congress, which is very important given how closely split the government is.
It is. Yeah. And so the term restoring fairness is not accurate. Right now, about 54% of the state of Virginia votes Democrat. It's slightly more Democrat. And we have six Democrats that are congressmen and 5 Republicans that are congressmen. So it's 11-5. It's 6-5. So it's slightly more Democrat. That seems pretty fair. That seems pretty fair. If the gerrymandering is successful, you have a chance to have 10 Democrats and 1 Republican. That would be about 9%. So if 45% of the Commonwealth identifies as Republican, it wouldn't make sense and it would not be fair for only 9% of that to be reflected in a Congress seat.
Yeah, and we just had a Republican governor for 4 years,
we did.
Glenn Youngkin, and a Republican attorney. I was a sweep of 4.
Yes,
so,
it was.
And frequently, Virginia seemed to be a, quote, purple state. And the reason why there's such a large percentage of Democratic votes is they're mainly concentrated in the heavily populated Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. suburbs, which are very Democratic and liberal. But geographically, a large part of Virginia is more conservative value state, and Virginia Beach in our district is sort of a swing district. It was one of the big swing districts in the last congressional election. So I think explain the impact. So some people might not know the term gerrymandering, but explain exactly what they want to do and the impact it would have in the Congress, U.S. Congress, and how it would make it so difficult for Trump to get his policies through.
Yes, thank you. So gerrymandering is a practice of drawing lines for an election, whether it's a federal or state election, and specifically doing it in a way to advantage one party over the other party. For an example, you mentioned Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia tends to be liberal, and that's fine. My daughter lives in Northern Virginia, although she's not liberal. But if you were to take a section of Northern Virginia and connect it to a suburb of Richmond, going over 100 miles down the I-95 corridor, that doesn't make sense. People in Richmond should determine Richmond politics. People in Virginia Beach should determine Virginia Beach politics. So you should draw lines, Chesapeake, Virginia, Norfolk, Newport News. Those have a character to them. They have a certain amount of governance, and it makes sense for them to be as kind of cohorts. But the gerrymandering effect right now is to take several parts of Arlington County and cut a small slice, a small corridor, and go specifically far away from Northern Virginia, far away from Fairfax or from Arlington, and go into other counties, Chesterfield County, things of that nature, and to take part of that and kind of connect that with Northern Virginia. Well, that's a problem for conservatives. It's a problem for liberals too. Because you could be a liberal and you could live in Richmond and have liberal views, but your liberal views might play themselves out very differently than Northern Virginia. So it's a problem for everybody, which is why the last time it was on the ballot for referendum, 66% of the Commonwealth said they did not want to do that. They don't want politicians drawing lines.
Right.
They want the lines drawn based upon the census. And if you look at the very, very last sentence of the very, very misleading statement, it says, and then in 2030, we'll go back and use the census to draw the lines. We're going to temporarily draw the lines to restore fairness. And it's not fair at all. And it really is unfair. I hate to say that, but it's unfair that they make it sound fair, and they're really covering and lying about what they're really trying to do.
And this is a reaction, frankly, to the Republican Party trying to do the same thing in Texas, and then, the Democratic Party trying to do it in California, and everyone's jockeying to try to get a congressional majority so that, they can either pass the Republican Party agenda or not pass it because it's so narrowly split. But the point is that, it's probably unconstitutional, and it probably will if it passes. So explain what the yes and the no vote is, because people might not understand that.
Yeah, so the yes vote is to go ahead with the gerrymandering, to go ahead and take lines that were drawn based upon a census, lines that were drawn based upon a bipartisan commission, not politicians, and redraw them and draw them specifically in a partisan way to try and tip the scales and tip the balance. So I'm all for competition of ideas. I want the Republicans and conservatives to win because they have the better idea.
Amen.
That's why I want to win. You have the better idea, the better candidates, you win, not by redrawing the lines. It's wrong when the Democrats do it. It's wrong when the Republicans do it. And I have heard, well, because of Texas, because of California. I live in Virginia.
Yeah.
I'm not here to worry about Texas politics or California politics. I want to do what's right in Virginia. And by the way, even back in the I keep hearkening back to 66% of Virginians don't want to do that. It's because they see other states doing that, and they don't want to be part of that.
Right, and unfortunately, some of the national Democratic money's coming in trying to sway this election. But anyway, we're here talking with Lance Lesher. He's running this Saturday, 10 to 3, Princess Anne High School, Virginia Beach, Republican Party chairman. And you were sharing with us you're very much in favor of school choice. Why is that a big issue locally and should be for Virginia Beach citizens and Virginia citizens?
Thanks, Lee. Well, my family, my wife of 31 years, we have 3 children. And because we moved constantly in the military, we would do for each child what was best for where they were in their education. And so all 3 of them at some point in time were homeschooled, homeschool co-opted, private school, or public school, depending upon where we were. All 3 of my children were fortunate enough to go to Kings Grant Elementary School for part of their education.
Good school.
Great school, and actually a great neighborhood. But where we are determined about what we wanted to do. And it's very hard, and I'm very much in favor of states cooperating with education and things of that nature. But school choice, you should be able to have a choice. Not because I don't believe in public school. I do believe in public school. I'm a product of public school. I want public schools to be better, to become better with competition.
Right.
When there's private school and there's homeschool, I'm all about school choice and that competition. And if a taxpayer's paying for a school and they only want their student to go to that school for 2 classes, they should be able to do that. If they want to homeschool their child but let their child play on the football team, they should be able to do that. Their tax is assessed based upon their property. That's how you pay tax in Virginia Beach.
Right.
And so if you're going to pay for that, you're going to be taxed for that, you should be able to have that. So I'm a big proponent of school choice. I'm a big proponent of homeschooling. But again, very important, I'm not against public school. And I'm not against having a good investment in public school and education. But I really believe that in the economy of education, competition is good, sir.
And that parents should be in control of the choice.
Yes.
Right?
And that was huge. You mentioned Governor Youngkin, Winsome Sears, Jason Mayorkas. A huge tipping point in that election was the opponent saying, I don't think parents should be telling teachers what to teach in school. I disagree. The customer is everybody, but the customer is not the teacher. Teachers are not there for teachers. Teachers are there for the students. They're also there for the taxpayer. They're also there for the parents as well, too. So I really believe that parents have to have the primary say in their child's education. Parents are the one who are going to bear the burden after school's over in the summer and after school's over for the rest of that child's life, how well that child has been equipped.
Yeah.
So the parents have that responsibility. It's a partnership. It's a partnership with school officials. It's a partnership with teachers. But at the end of the day, that parent's going to have to look in the mirror and say, did I do the best for my child? Did I do everything that I could to have a safe, a productive education, and an education that's going to lead to lifelong enjoyment of learning, but also a career?
And I think you're in favor of the marketplace, the competition of ideas.
Absolutely.
I heard you say that, and when it comes to a teachers union or the SOLs controlling the what the curriculum is and what is acceptable and what is the right answer, especially about social, cultural, and historical issues, which can have different flavors depending on which textbooks you're using,
Yes,
which teachers using, which SOL standards. So if a parent strongly disagrees with that, they have a right, I believe, and it was very important in the foundational part of our country that the Christian ethics were important to be instilled in children at a young age.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of the backlash you're seeing against public schools is because the parents feel like the moral, ethical, and education and the social contagion part of education, which has led to transgender bathrooms, all these boys playing in women's sports and all these things, all these big social issues has ended up resulting in parents demanding school choice. Right? And now there's a federal tax credit where parents can get some money back for school choice, I believe. I'm not aware of all that.
But I would definitely like to see the state do that as well, and responsibility to acknowledge and respect parents' right to oversee the education of their children, primarily with what schools are going to go to, school choice.
Right. So you mentioned school choice, Second Amendment, and there was one other thing you mentioned that were a big issue for you.
Well, safety. Safety. Virginia Beach is a very safe city.
Yeah.
It's not perfectly safe, but I will tell you, Rocky Holcomb, the sheriff, is a wonderful individual. Just got reelected. He got reelected because he keeps a safe city. And there's a great partnership between the police force and the sheriffs. They go through common training so that when there's a lot going on at the beach waterfront, the sheriff's department can come down and supplement and help the police force. And it's a great city. It's a safe city. We need to keep it safe for us. We also need to keep it safe for tourists as well, too.
Absolutely.
One of the things that people constantly talk about is the taxes. But one of the great things we have is the beach and tourism. And if that dries up, that really is going to impact our ability to maintain our schools, our roads, and things of that nature. So we need to keep Virginia Beach safe for Virginia first and foremost, but also for folks who come here as tourists, people who come here for work, people who come here in the military like me. I was a Florida citizen. When I retired. The day after I retired, I went and became a Virginia citizen. A lot of people retire to Tennessee or Texas or Florida from Virginia. Governor Youngkin was working very, very hard, and I trust Governor Spanberger will do the same thing and realize that we don't want to hemorrhage that talent. We want young people who are getting out, who are highly skilled, highly disciplined, have served their country, to stay in Virginia. We want them to stay here.
Yeah.
And the big thing we say that is safety, and then back to schools as well, too, a good education for their children.
Yeah, and I know, again, all politics is local. There was this bill that was, not passed by the legislature, allowing local jurisdictions to have a curfew for underage people, which was very, very important at the Virginia Beach oceanfront because of crowds and dangerous and murders happening. So, this is important. Good reason to go out and vote for the Republican Party chairman election on this Saturday, 10-3, Princess Anne. Now, your high school, Princess Anne High School now, your background in the military gives you a little insight into the Strait of Hormuz. So tell us, because that's a long way away. Tell us about the geography and how the geography causes a choke point for the world economy that results in $5 diesel gas.
Yes, sir. So it is challenging because there's a lot of oil, obviously, in the Arabian Gulf from all the Gulf states. And the way you typically get is with super tankers. Tankers go in and come out, and it is a very, very narrow strait. And a good portion of that strait, the northern portion of that strait, is Iranian territory. There's also a bunch of small islands that are around there as well too that a lot of patrol boats will operate out of. Drones can operate out of them. You could use that as a platform for putting ships out with mines. So it's a strategic choke point, and it's been a strategic choke point. The military, the U.S. Navy's been operating there for years and years. We always have a presence over there because of the value of it. Recently, Iran has become more and more emboldened. They've been killing U.S. personnel, taking hostages U.S. personnel for decades. They've been funding the murder of Israelis and the harassment of Hamas and Lebanese Hezbollah and the Houthis and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. They've been funding those
which
for
is
decades.
in the Red Sea.
Which is in the Red Sea.
So the Houthis held that ransom.
They did. Right now, they're not active.
Right.
We will see if they become active.
But it required the United States military to become engaged with the Houthis to keep the Red Sea open.
Yes. But the bottom line is Iran really has three pillars. Three pillars of three tools that it uses to keep Israel down and the U.S. out. The first is its proxies. They want somebody else to do its dirty work for them. It's interesting. So Hamas is a organization that is very much beholden to Iran, even though one is Sunni, one is Shia. Iran is Shia, Hamas is Sunni, but there's still a strong affinity there, and usually those folks are kind of at each other's throats. But the primary way Iran deals with the international community is through proxies, through terrorism, funding terrorism, so they can remain detached from that. The next is their missile forces, the ability to launch missiles into Israel, the ability to launch missiles into other Arab nations. And the third is their navy, the ability to hold that strait hostage. And right now, the United States and Israel combined are triding their leadership. They're triding their missile forces, although they have thousands of missiles. It's going to take a long time to get rid of all those. We want to degrade the launchers. But the last thing that they had available was their navy, and we were slowly triding their navy. Problem is, you don't have to have a big warship to drop mines in the water. You can do it from a fishing vessel, and that's often what they'll do is they'll send wooden dhows out there to just kind of mine it. So it's a very difficult situation. President Trump and Secretary Hagstaff are masterfully trying to do everything they can to drive the Iranians to change behavior, or ideally would be a change in government. The Iranians would rise up and throw off their government, their corrupt government, and want to govern for themselves.
Yeah, and you're very temperate and moderate in your tone. I like that, especially in a politician.
Thank you.
But I'm not a politician.
I understand.
So and we are a Christian faith-based network, and we also support Israel. From a biblical point of view, those who bless Israel will be blessed. Those who curse Israel will be cursed.
Yes, sir.
And, it's great to see an ally willing to be the tip of the spear like Israel, which we're not seeing in some of our NATO allies in any of the wars, Ukraine or in this war. But, this Islamic radical, Islamic fundamentalist Islamic, jihadist Islamic regime not only is held their own people
absolutely
in a reign of terror, and their own people want to be set free, but now you're seeing holding the world's economy hostage, and their Arab neighbors who didn't. They've still refrained from, defending themselves by, getting involved in this war. They're taking incoming, their military bases, but civilian structures, deaths, and now oil infrastructure. So, I think Iran has shown, who they are and what their goals are, and to stop short of bringing them to their knees is probably just going to embolden them to hold ransom the Strait of Hormuz the next time.
Yes. Well, you mentioned something very interesting. The first thing you said was these Islamic fanatics hold their own people captive first. And when fundamental Islamists, terrorists move into a town, the first people they go after is other Muslims who are moderate. They got to get rid of those. The two apostates, people who are Muslims but aren't as fanatical as them. Then they go for the Jews, and then they go for the Christians. That's the process by which they go through. But the first thing they do is to oppress their own people, keep their own people down, crush any dissent, and then they start exporting that to Hamas and to the Houthis and around the world.
And we need to be careful because we're not immune here to the infiltration of the theology of Islam, the political, as my partner said, it's not just a theology, it's a political system too, with the goal of a caliphate of the world, that hegemony, control the world. That is their stated goal in the Quran. Am I wrong?
There are Muslims that are willing to. I've read the Quran a couple times, and the phrase is the people of the book, and I'm not an expert on the Quran, but much of the Quran is live at peace with the people of the book, the Christians and the Jews. The Quran talks about the virgin birth. Live at peace.
Well, there's two parts to the Quran.
There's pre-Medina and post-Medina. And I don't want to purport to be a Quran, but I have read the Quran because I want to understand the Quran, and I've gone through and I've seen you can pick and pull, like a lot of people, you can pick and pull what you want. Right. Pre-Medina, post-Medina kind of gives you kind of the view of where it was. So there are many Muslims that look at others and they can live along, get along of that nature. There are some that are not that way. Yeah. And again, the ones who are not that way, the first people they go after, the apostates, or the other Muslims that are not as radical as them, that aren't as pure as them, which is very telling. And then they go for the Jews, and then they come for the Christians.
Well, and they also appear to have a political strategy where they've, through immigration and social and cultural change in many of the countries of Europe and mayors of London, Paris, New York, Dearborn, and if we don't appreciate and defend our freedom as citizens of the United States, we'll lose it.
Yes. We are a freedom-loving people. Our founding fathers loved freedom. It's in our fabric. It's in our founding documents. And people who want to be that come to the United States legally, be here, raise your family here. But there are some sects that they do not believe in that freedom. They want to take that and, like many governments, to rule over people and to be oppressive and to use whatever law, whether it's Sharia law or whatever, to try and oppress people. And we will not stand for that. We came here to be free. We want to be free. Our freedom's a gift from God, and we acknowledge that.
Amen. Well, retired Captain Lance Lesher, thank you so much for your time. Wish you good luck in your election and whatever the Lord calls you to next, because your experience and your, history of dedicated service to our country and defending our freedom is so appreciated and such a high level. And, we just wish you every success and continuing to, as a private citizen, to defend the freedom and to be a leader in Virginia and in the Republican Party. So thanks for being here on Good News on Good News. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.